Hi everybody, it's Jeanette Vilda. So I'm going to do a few more things with some wax seals. And as you can see, I'm making some cards. Real simple cards that end up being really beautiful. I've got two examples here. This first one, and we're going to make another one using the same things. This paper here is from Stamperia. I like, there's, certain scrapbook paper sets, like Graphic 45, Stamperia, Echo Park. They often, nowadays, come with journal cards. And the one side, here in Stamperia, the one side of this one has this little area where you can write. And then the other side is just this pretty image. And we're going to use that to make a card. So really simple. Then all you need is your layers and you've got a card. But we're going to just take it that little step farther and we're going to add in this wax seal. And you can see when we're done, this simple card is just taking up that little bit of a step up. Now it's a little harder to see and it's starting to dry now. But I've added some gold ink to the leaf. If you get it in just the right, there you go. If you get it in the right light, it just shines, and I really like that. Now, one of the things I like to do, I've added it here, but sometimes just to embellish, I like to trace elements on the paper with the same gold. It just adds a little bit of that little extra bit to tie it all together. But this is simple enough, and like I said, I like the wax stamp just really shines out. The other example, so in my last video about the wax seals, I was showing you these really awesome little sets from Craspire, these little velum flowers. Comes in a whole bunch of colors. I mean, there's a lot here. Like I said, each bag has, how many? 40 in it. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags. So a lot of these velum flowers. And what I love is that when you put them on, they have a pressed flower look. So again, with this one, this paper, I believe, it might also be Stamperia, but no, I don't remember. One thing I like, so these are relatively small cards, as you can see. Simple, basic, real simple. With this one, what I've done is I've left this area blank, right? Then later on, I need a little note card to give to someone. Maybe thank you, happy birthday, congratulations. It fits for all occasions, and I can just quickly stamp that onto the image, and otherwise it looks really pretty all by itself. So this is an example, just sometimes don't fill that in, right? So that it's ready to go. All I have to do is quick little sentiment, and I've got a completed card. And like I said, I really love that. Look at the flower. So I'm going to make both of these and show you how I did this. Now, again, really simple. So I'm going to start with this gold one. Actually, no, let me start with the pressed flower. So with this one, what I'm going to do, I've got all my layers already cut. Just need to put them on. And you can see this little pressed flower. I think this one even looks even more. So this one's kind of like a tulip. And, well, it's very pretty. It's almost not quite that pressed flower look, but still very pretty. This one has that little extra bit that makes it just look a little bit more like a pressed flower. Isn't that gorgeous? So now this one I'm going to put together, and I still have a little space here if I want to add a sentiment. And what I'm going to do, let me get my fire started here. As you can see, my little spoon, whatever you want to call this thing, and it's stuck itself to it, still has the wax from this seal. Hopefully you can see that. It's got a really beautiful iridescent, kind of like a shimmer to it. Really pretty. I could scoop that out and clean it out, but since I'm using the same base paper underneath this layer, I'm going to leave it in there. But as you can see, there's some browns here, so I'm going to use a more brown. So what's in there, I'm just going to very slightly mix it in with what I'm adding in. It may not even show up, but that's what we're going to do. So sometimes you might want to plan out. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to add another one, one of the red ones that I used in the other one, just to give it a little bit more. Really tie it into this background paper. I mean, it's very subtle, the little bits of red, but it's really pretty. Okay, while that's melting, I put my layers on here. Layer. Let's see. This one opens like this, so I want it to go to the left. Now, secret on getting the release paper off of these. It can be quite fun. What I use, and you'd be very careful if you're going to do this, but what I use is a craft knife. And I kind of use my finger to hold it in place. And I'm kind of sliding it along. Now, again, be very careful so you're not slicing your finger. I'm just using that to give me a solid base while I thought I had it there. It's still tricky doing it like this. I'm just trying to get it to go in between. So now it's in between the layers and I can peel that off. For me, it's the simplest way to do it, but be very careful. Okay, this thing clings, so there we go. And sometimes you get this kind of mottled look. I like to go over it with a bone folder that gets all those itty bitty teeny weeny micro air bubbles out, and it just makes it look a little bit better. And it really helps in terms of making it look more like it was part of the paper, or less that it's a sticker. Okay, so this looks like it is melted. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm going to give it a very little swirl. Just a little bit. Just to kind of mix those around just a little bit. And the wax seal I'm using is just a little leaf. Okay, I'm gonna pour this. Some people swirl it around. I like to just pour right in the middle. Okay, and again, you want to get it right centered and then let gravity pull it down. Okay. Now the reason, so you could do this on the card itself. I like to do it on a silicone mat. This one just happens to be the silicone mat that I got with my We Are Memory Keepers fuse, but any silicone mat will do. They peel right off real easy. It is kind of funny with this one because these are like etched on. I get this interesting little pattern on the back, but you're never going to see it, so who cares? But yeah, any silicone mat, it protects your surface from the heat, and the wax seal will release right off of it. And the nice thing about that is you can see, for instance, this one, I got this lovely little hiccup on it, and it was fairly off center. Now this could be used for just about anything else. I don't like it on my card because I wanted it to be real, not perfect, but a little more than, especially with a little hiccup on it. But I keep these. I keep all of the wax seals that I've done in the past, whether I've liked how they turned out or not. They come in useful. And then there's a tiny bit left in here. I'm going to see. No, it's not enough. If I can get a little bit, I'm going to use my little key stamp here. Probably not enough to get a decent, but we're going to go ahead and try. I like to use up my wax that's left over. Okay, so what you can do is you feel around the edges. It should feel cool to the touch, and you're ready to release. Ooh, that turned out real nice. And carefully, if you are worried about this, you can use a spatula. Looks like my spatula is kind of dirty, so I'm just going to use my fingers. But you can use a little metal spatula to pry it off. And there is my seal. Lovely little bits of that from the back. You can really see the swirl, but lovely little bits there. So now what I want to do is I'm going to kind of make it, what I'm making it look like is that I've put my pressed flowers down and then I've sealed them onto the card with the wax seal. So it's going to kind of think maybe about there. That looks nice. I'm going to use, this is just Glossy Accents. It happens to be the glue that I have on hand. It's a nice strong glue. That should hold it on there nicely. There. Okay, I'm just going to hold it in place, let it set, because it's going to want to slide around. The surface of the wax seal is glossy. It's also kind of slick. And so it's going to want to slide around and so I want to just hold it in place for a little while the glue sets a bit. Glossy Accents takes a little bit longer than other glues to set, so there we go. And there is my card. Isn't that pretty? It looks like little pressed flowers being held on my card. Alright, let's see. Now, oh, you know, that didn't turn out too bad. Look at that. Isn't it cute? Waste not, want not. Alright, so I'm going to take this cauldron off. Or sorry, that scoop off the cauldron. And put this one on. Now, this is the one that I used earlier to make this stamp. So the same gold is still in there. Let me light my candle again. Okay, and drop in my gold. Now with this one, I think I'm going to add, so in this stamp I added a little bit of this blue that I thought kind of matched the blue of my mat, but I only added one, so this time I'm going to add two. I want a little bit more of it because you can barely see it in there. If I get it in the right light, you can see it, but it's very subtle. I kind of want a little bit more. I'm going to get me a new toothpick that's covered in wax. And then again, while that's melting, I will glue on my layers. Oh, and that just finished. So let me see here. I'll just use my glue. I might, nope, there we go. Just okay. Now this one, I have this really pretty gold paper. I use that to pick out the color of my wax. So that's my next layer. And if you're wondering, the glue that I'm using is just pen flare glue. I really love it. I've never had warped papers with that glue. However, it is a very quick set. So you kind of have to work a little bit quicker than some glues that I have used. I'm going to just smooth that out so that the glue gets kind of spread around underneath. And the final layer. Now this one, let's see, which way do we want to go? I think we want to go this way because that's the opening. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Last layer. Burnish it down again just to get the glue settled. Okay. And there's without the stamp. And definitely ready now. I'm going to just sticking with this little leaf stamp. Oh, where's my toothpick? Okay, so again, I'm going to give it these tiniest of swirls. Very, very little. Just kind of gets it to mix just a bit. But if you mix it too much, you're going to create a whole new color, which is pretty much mud. Okay, that might have been a bit too much. Let's see. I'm letting it fall a little bit slower than usual just because I put in a little bit too much wax and I didn't want it to go. So if you realize you put a little bit too much wax, you can control just a little bit the speed at which it goes down. That will keep it from doing that. Real chunky around the edges. It'll be thicker. As you can see, you can actually see through this. You probably can't because the light's behind you, but I can see through it despite how chunky this is. So in the middle here where the stamp was, I can see right through that stamp if I put the light behind it. So it'll make the overall stamp thicker, but you won't have as terrible big bulges around the edges. So while that's still setting, I'm going to set up my paint for coloring on. Like I said, it's pretty subtle, but it's just this tiny little accent that adds something. Now, there's a number of ways that you can do this. One is just some paint markers, right? So here's a whole bunch of different gold paint markers, silver paint markers. Craspire sells some wonderful pens for painting on your stamps. However, I am going to show you just one extra way, which is with ink. So this is Dr. P.H. Martin's calligraphy ink in iridescent. And I have a little rock in there. So what I'm going to do is I got this kind of manky little palette over here. I just put one tiny drop because I'm like, really don't need much at all. And what I'm going to use to paint is just this micro applicator. It's essentially a Q-tip, right? Cotton swab. But the cotton part is really tiny. This is really great for, well, all kinds of applications. One is what we're going to do today. One might be if you want to take some acetone to something, but you have a very small spot. Good for that. I like having these around, and you can get them in bulk. All right, so this should be done. Ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Oh yeah, that turned out real nice. That little extra bit really, see, it pulls the colors from our card. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this just like I would anything else. So I'm going to use my little micro applicator, grab some of the ink, and I'm painting it on the raised area of the stamp. Now it's going to sit on the surface, especially this because it's thick. If I use the marker, it's not quite as bad. And you want to be real careful, you just stay on the surface, the raised surface area. And I don't know how well you can see this, but it's kind of, might need to let that cool a little bit more. But it's kind of bubbling up, so pooling up, because this is ink, and this is not exactly a porous surface. So it's not going to seep in, and it might take a little extra ink application to get it to really cover and stay where you want it to and not seep off. This one's being a little more difficult than the last one. So just keep adding a little bit more in, but be careful that you don't put so much on that it falls over the edge. And we don't have to get perfect application. This is just a nice little subtle enhancement to the overall image. So I'm not going to move that this time because it is kind of bubbled on the surface. I don't even know if I can lift it without tipping it. Let me see. Oh, there we go. So I don't know if you can see, it's kind of bubbled up a bit. Now I'm going to let that just sit to the side, and that's going to slowly dry away. And you'll get this look. Again, very subtle. I mean, depending on what color, so the color that I've chosen is almost the same color of the gold that's in the stamp. So another possibility, I don't have that color, but maybe if you have a paint marker that's the same color as this blue, that would have been really pretty. But it's very subtle, and yes, when it dries, it still has that a little bit of a bubble look, because again, I've used some kind of, thick, not thick, but it's liquidy, and so it has made a little bit of a bubble, whereas if I had used, a marker, for instance, it would have been more flat. But make sure you don't touch these for quite some time. Really let that dry. I am still not touching this one, for instance, because I can see a couple of areas that still need just a little bit more drying time. And so just give it some time, let it settle. Now, if, for instance, so this one really covered, it went nicely and kind of flattened out across. This one, there's a few of the leaves where the ink bubbled right into the middle. You know, it's almost like a sinkhole went right into the middle. That's really just because, again, this is ink. It's not really acrylic paint or that kind of thing. So the ink has a lot more liquid in it. And so it tends to just stay up on the surface. If you want, once this completely dries, you can go back with another layer and kind of go around it. You be very careful because, you know, if you put too much, it'll seep over to the sides. So, but I happen to like that look. I think it adds, actually I think I like that one better than this one where it went nice and smooth. It really has an organic feel to it. So it's not going to go on my card yet, but I'll show you. I'll just set it on there very carefully. Show you how this is going to look. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Adds a little bit something. I could also put it up here, cover up the little butterfly. However you want to do that. It's one of the things I like about these little cards that you can get in the a lot of scrapbook sets nowadays have those. They're very versatile for quickly making cards like this. And then the little stamp just adds that much more. Okay, so that is our cards. And where did she go? Oh, there it is. All right. So there we have it. Basically 2 simple cards, easy to make, with the beautiful wax seals from Craspire, wax nuggets, and these wonderful little vellum flowers. And you've got some gorgeous cards to give. Would be pretty, match the envelope, put the wax seal, match this wax seal to the envelope that you put the card in. Makes it look real pretty. Okay, so thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll have a link to Craspire and the different products that I used today. Go check them out. They really are a wonderful company, have really good products. I've been very impressed with their products. So, otherwise, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.